trying to inspire others to start their healing journey when they're ready. But let's get into today's topic, which is pretty interesting, I may say. So today I am coming from an angle of sports because I love sports, and I'm sorry if y'all don't. But I am going to relate how basketball is actually how I've been living my life. So stay tuned. So thank y'all for coming back. So I wanted to say the reason why I related basketball to my life. Yes, it's my favorite sport. It's my number one favorite sport in others. But I related to basketball a lot because that was the very first sport that I played, that got me out the house, that helped me with me getting through what I was going through. That was the way I released my energy, and just in a positive manner. Having great teammates. We may not have been the best team, but we had a good time. But if you are not familiar with basketball, there are some terms in which I related to my life. So there are two teams. You're either on offense, you're either playing defense. And I will be explaining how that played a role in my life. And then when you are also playing basketball, you're rebounding and you're trying to get that score, or you're trying to get that rebound to steal the ball to go on your end of the court to make a basket. And then while you're rebounding, you're also boxing out. So you're trying to make sure the other opponent is not going to get that rebound. So you got to do your best. And then there's something called timeout. So all those type of terms about basketball, I'm going to break down how they are related to my life. So let's get into it. So first thing is, the reason why I thought basketball is related to my life is because since I was a young girl, I have always been on the defense mode, whether that's protecting myself, whether that's always been on guard of my surroundings, of the individual that was surrounding me. And that made me have a lot of, I want to say I trusted in my instinct heavily, as opposed to others at the time, and still do. But I want to say that it helped me in many ways, and it built me in who I am today. And then being defensive also helped me also get to certain things in life, like my goals, certain like job opportunities, and even also playing sports, and just standing up for myself in a good way. And the reason why I always been defensive, if you haven't watched none of my other videos, is one, because my childhood upbringing. You know, I had, family members that were abusing me, and I was surrounded by alcoholics. Basically, that kept me on guard and always watching people's behavior, and making sure that I was either always looking for the exit, always looking sure I had a way to get out, and always just speaking up for myself. So that's how I related basketball defense towards my life. But I want to say, recently when I started therapy, which was a couple years ago, which was in 2017, I began to be more on the offensive, because I began actually living for me as opposed to surrendering to other people's needs and putting everyone else before me, and not speaking up for myself so that others can feel I don't have an opinion, or that my opinion doesn't matter in a sense. So when I started therapy, my therapist would give me some skills and homework assessments. Like, she helped me understand how to set up boundaries between me and my family members. She helped me also set a boundary within myself. And also that allowed me to branch off and start being in tune with myself more, instead of always like people pleasing people, but actually tuning into myself and doing things I love, and just being in the present with myself, and just enjoying what I love to do, and going after all my goals. And that's how I began being on offense for my life, and making the plays I want to do, whether that hang out with certain people, whether I was not hanging out with certain people, going for certain opportunities, or listening to my intuition, where defense also came back and helped me in a sense, where I knew if it was a right opportunity to go for, or if it wasn't a right opportunity, or if I had to take the risk and just see where it goes. Also, when it came down to the support team, because in basketball you're on a team, I began to realize that even though I did have certain people in my life, we became distant due to our upbringing and our ways of thinking in general as I got older. And I also didn't want to be surrounded by certain people's patterns that were reflecting bad influence, and that made me pull away from them, and also love them from a distance and putting myself first. So that's how I use defense and offense for my life. And also, when it comes to this idea of timeout, when you're playing basketball, either your coach is going to call timeout for you. So when I call timeout for myself, that allows me to rest, to reassess myself, to give myself permission to look down and see what do I need to improve on, how can I get better at certain things, or what are some things I need to add to my life or need to take away. So that's how I use timeout to help me make sure I'm on track, and also just enjoying life at the same time. And another way that timeout also is beneficial, because I'm making sure I'm pouring into myself at all times, and making sure that I am giving myself the proper rest, making sure I'm getting the amount of hours of sleep, and also when things are getting hard, just giving myself grace and permission to take it easy. And then sometimes when you're playing a sport, you have to adjust yourself to see if you're making the smart moves, whether that was a good play, or if you need to change the type of defense you're on, or you need to switch up certain players that's in your support team, who to lean on, who not to lean on. So that's how I use my timeout to be relatable to my life. Then when it comes to rebounding, I'm not sure if y'all familiar about rebounding now, but when you're on a team and say you're underneath the basket and you're trying to get a rebound, if you're one of your players in your team shot the jump shot or the three-pointer, you're making sure they follow through. If not, you're trying to get that rebound. And also two-pointer. But say if it didn't go in, you now have to pull your weight and try to score that basket again. Or say on the opposite team and you're trying to get that basketball, and you're trying to steal it to go back to your end of the court to make a basket. You're trying everything in your hardest to make sure that individual do not take that basketball so that you score. And the way I related that to my life is I'm making sure, say for instance, I'm relying on someone from like I was a child, I was relying on people to protect me. But there was a lot of people that wasn't following through, so I had to pick up the pieces to protect myself and be on guard and just make sure that I was the one being aware of my surroundings. They had good intentions, some of them, some didn't have good intentions. I just had to be alert and make sure I was there for myself. And even when I got to, teenage years and adult years, I sometimes, even say if I took shots and I didn't follow through with my shots, I had to also take accountability in my actions because were I lacking in something? Do I need to improve on something? How can I get better at following through with my goals? I had to look into myself and say, hey, how can I better myself in these areas so I don't slip up again and make these same turnovers in my life where I'm going through the same cycle over and over? Like, how can I better myself? So that's how I related rebounding. And another part about rebounding is also say that, someone's trying to get in the way of my, goals. Like, I'm going to try my hardest to box them out and make sure that they don't take what I want for my life, what I want in my life. I'm going to make sure that they do not get in the way of my goals. I'm going to make sure they don't get the best of me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and all that. I'm going to make sure I'm in tune with myself from core and make sure my foundation is straight to make sure that I am planted correctly so I don't make a bad move and foul them, and then it's a turnover in a sense. So that's how I related rebounding and boxing out. So I hope y'all liked that little episode on how I related basketball to my life. Again, basketball is very special to me. And it's one of those sports that allow me to release my energy positive when I was a kid, when I wasn't feeling the best or I didn't know how to express myself, by talking to my family, or if I knew my family wasn't listening to me, I knew I had a positive outlet to go to release these emotions and not keep it in. And then later in life, that's when I started going to therapy and journaling and stuff like that. But I just want to make sure that whoever's listening, is using a positive outlet to make sure they are getting what they need to be released from them, and also to make sure that they are doing everything in their power to make sure that they are number one in their life and not trying to people please people, and learning to be your own fan. And even when it's hard and you're going through a lonely season or isolation season, know that you are your own cheerleader, and you may want people to be there, but some people don't follow through. And also know that this journey is not, again, a overnight thing. Like,